Hello everyone, welcome to my very first YouTube video, and I guess let's get straight into it. Today I'm looking at an MSI A520M-A PRO, which when I try and power it on, just comes on with a CPU light and does not boot, as you're about to see. Yep, and then it just stays stuck on the CPU light, basically. And today I'm going to be trying to diagnose this motherboard and fix it. So nice. Quite simple one to start with, as in simple motherboard, potentially not a very simple problem, but I guess we'll see. So the first thing that I like to do when I'm doing a repair is CMOS reset. So this is the CMOS battery here. Usually somewhere next to it, or like in the bottom right corner here, there'll be a header that says either JBAT or CLRTC. So one of those two, usually just want to short that with a metal object, so like a screwdriver or one of these for a few seconds, 5 to 10 seconds, and then power on and see if that changes anything. So that just basically clears the BIOS settings, and if there's anything wrong with them, hopefully now it'll be working, but nope, it doesn't look like that was the issue. I did already try and power it on. I had it running for a little bit, nothing changed, so it's not just an issue of, well, you have to wait a little bit for it. Next thing I want to try is swapping out the RAM into the other slots. I have fixed a few of these before, like I think this is my third or I think fourth or fifth maybe, the A520M-A PRO that I'm working on. And I think the last one had a BIOS issue, so we'll get to that soon, because it might just be a BIOS issue again. That would be nice. Nice and simple fix. No difference with the RAM in the other slot. Also, I noticed that after, I don't know if this is always the case, but it's just something that I noticed a while ago, is after you do a CMOS reset, usually the motherboard will power on, and then wait a couple seconds, and then it will reset itself if it's like actually booting properly. But because this one didn't do that, that suggests to me that it's not passing like the power on self-test, so the post. And so usually, not always again, but usually from my experience, that is an issue with the BIOS, because the BIOS isn't telling it to do the right thing, and it's not telling it to reset itself. Another thing I'm just quickly going to test is our CPU, because it's CPU LED, I don't know if I mentioned, is it actually getting warm? Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, it's getting warm. Not too quickly as well, so that's good. These should, especially like these AM4 boards, they do take a little bit to warm the CPU up. So next thing I'm going to test after that, I think, is I'm going to just try and rewrite the BIOS. Unfortunately, this board is very basic, as you can see. There's no BIOS flashback function on this. Either way, I mean, those are usually documented in the motherboard's manual, so if you do have a better tier motherboard and you think you might have a BIOS issue if it's not working, then definitely just check out your manual. Most of them will have some sort of details. Maybe if it's not in the manual, then just look up like whatever, make it so if it's like gigabyte and then gigabyte flashback like options or whatever. Usually it will be the first USB 2, so yeah, in this case, if this board had flashback, it would be like you put the USB stick in one of these, but yeah, that's not something we're going to cover today. So yeah, I'm going to get everything set up. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to be using. So, firstly, I'll show you where the BIOS chip is. Yeah, so BIOS chip is this thing right here, this little chip, and we're going to read the code on it basically to figure out whether it's 3.3 or 1.8 volts. So I'm just going to read out the code that's on here. It's so it's an MSI chip. This is probably the most common one that you'd find on boards these days, and it's MX25U25673G. So just from that code, I can already tell this is a 1.8 volt chip, because for the MSI chips, the ones that start with MX, 25U is 1.8 and 25L is 3.3. But just if you wanted to double check, MX25U 25673G. Just type that in go on the first result, and here's the data sheet, and yeah, there you go, 1.8 volts. So U is 1.8, L is 3.3. So what we need to do at this point is we need to go on the manufacturer's website and find the actual BIOS file that we're going to be programming onto here. So usually, well, always on, specifically on MSI boards, each board has a specific manufacturer code that they use. It's just easier to type that one in because it's shorter. It starts with MS, and it's usually somewhere around the middle of the board. So on this one I can see it's MS 7C96. And there you go, first result. Support, and there we go, BIOS, it's already on there. So this is the most recent version, 3 months ago. Yeah, should be fine. I've probably downloaded this before. Yeah, there you go, this is the third one that I've downloaded. And oh, actually 96, never mind, stop. We've already got it right here. So now I'm in my programmer software, and that is Neo Programmer. That's what I use. There are other options, but this is just what I'm most used to, so just figure out what you like basically. And I'm just going to find the file, open it. It is this one, yep, and all files, and it's this. So we're expecting it to be 32,768 kilobytes on this chip. Sometimes it'll be half of that because this is a 32 megabyte chip. Sometimes it'll only be 16 megabytes. But if it says 32,772, that means firstly that it's a cap file, and these are only really seen on Asus boards because Asus uses cap files, which is basically the same thing except it has a 4 kilobyte header at the start of the file. So you need to get rid of that. There are programs to do it. You could just look it up. It's not very hard. I just use a program called UEFI tool just to get rid of the header, basically. Turns it from a cap file into just a regular binary file, which is what this is. And we can just double click to load it in. And now I'm going to show you how to set up the actual programmer itself. So I've moved my laptop just so it's a little bit closer so my programmer can reach, and this is the programmer that I'm going to be using. Yeah, there you go. It is a CH341A, and this is the most common like cheap programmer that you can find. This is you can get this and the whole set of things that you need for it basically for like £10 maybe on Amazon. But the thing it usually doesn't come with is this. This is a 1.8 volt converter adapter. So this runs at 3.3, but for this chip we need 1.8. Some chips want 3.3, so that's fine. Especially on older boards, usually they're 3.3, but this is relatively new, I guess. So it's on 1.8 volts, and basically we just need to put it into the bottom 4. So you see how there's basically 4 here and 4 here, so 2 different sections. This is for, it says everything on the side. This is for 24 like series, I guess, chips, and this is for 25, and our chip started with MX25, so that's what we're going to be using. So just put that in, make sure you match pin 1, which is marked by the little dot on the right. Everything, I mean, this isn't going to be like an in-depth tutorial. If you're going to use this for the first time, definitely look one up on YouTube, they're on there. But people say you need there's like some sort of issue with these, and you need to like convert it. You have to do some soldering in order for it to work right. But then other people say that's not true. I've never soldered anything and it works fine, so I don't think it's really that necessary. But yeah, just be aware of that. Some people have said that. And then this is the actual programmer like ending that we're going to be using, because this is a WSON 8x6 chip, I think. That's the package of the chip. So we need one of these. And these are kind of annoying because they don't stay down. They don't clip on like the other one. There are basically 2 packages that you can have for the chip. It's this, the one that you saw, and like a sort of shorter one. But yeah, I mean that one's easier because you can actually clip onto it. For this, I'm going to need to use something to weigh it down so it actually makes contact. But yeah, same thing again, line up pin 1. So this way around, line up pin 1 with pin 1 on here. Pull the lever down to clip it in, and now it's ready. It shows you where pin 1 is with the black line. Just line that up with pin 1, which is marked by a dot always, and it always goes pin 1, and then it goes down, or well, in this case I guess up. like it doesn't jump across, it goes down the line, and then so 1 2 3 4, and then jumps across 5 6 7 8. That's how the pins always work on these chips. And yeah, I'm going to be taking the cooler off, and this is a little bit janky, this setup that I use, but I don't really have another choice, so I'm just going to show you what I do, just to, like I said, to weigh it down, because otherwise it's not going to be making contact. Pin 1 is in the top, well, in the bottom right, I guess, from this point of view. Okay, so forgive me for the mess, but I have managed to eventually weigh it down, hopefully. Hopefully that's weighed it down enough that it will stay there now and it won't move around. And yeah, I guess we'll see. So basically I've just got the programmer here with my voltage generator on top and multimeter as well, just to weigh it down. So it's actually making contact with the pins. And now what we're going to do is we're going to press this button here, so detect IC, and okay, good, it does detect it. Here it is. This is the one that we have, 25U25673G. You can see it's 1.8 volts, which is correct. And yeah, we've loaded the file, but I'm just going to load it again to make sure. And then I just have all of these checked. You don't need all of them, but just for peace of mind, I like to have all of them on. And then press program, and we're going to wait about 10, maybe 20 minutes, depends on the size of the file, I guess. But yeah, I mean, well, same size, just how much there is to do, I guess, because sometimes it can take like 10 minutes, but sometimes it takes 20 plus on these chips. So I'll see you then. Okay, I'm back and it's finished programming, so I'm just going to disconnect it from my laptop and take all of this apart, and I guess we'll see if it works. So get the cooler back on, plug everything in, and okay, power on. Still no difference. That's okay. Do another CMOS reset like we did earlier. A few seconds and try again. Nope. Okay, still nothing. So now I'm gonna take everything out again and do a visual inspection to see basically just if there's any damaged, like, well, clearly like visibly damaged components or anything knocked off or anything like that, and I'll come back once I've done that. I'm back and I think I have found the culprit. So down here, in just next to this chip, there is I think a resistor, yeah, that is not, you can see it's been rotated by 90 degrees, this one. Let me just point to it with these. This here, in fact it might even move, yeah, look, you can see it moving around. Oh, that's quite good actually. I'm going to just put it back where I think it should be, and I'm going to see if it boots like this. Because, yeah, honestly, with most boards that I get, the most common issue that I get is a BIOS issue, and then the next one after that is knocked off components. Those are the most often like things that go wrong with motherboards, especially BIOS. I don't really know what happens with that, but like I was building a PC recently, and like when you're putting the whole motherboard in with the CPU cooler and the graphics card and everything, putting it in there, a lot of the time, you know, this is quite close to a screw hole. Sometimes you just don't get it quite on there and it can just nudge something off. So yeah, that is on there now. Hopefully that's making contact. If it is, we should actually just get a boot from this. Still maybe not, and we're going to have to solder it on anyway just to make sure it stays on. But this could actually boot now. CPU light. Let me try and let me just try and press it down. I just see where it is, because it might not be making very good contact right now. Oh, yeah, there you go. CPU light's gone. As soon as I pressed it in, CPU light disappeared. And hopefully the board will now be booting. Yeah, there you go, VGA. I don't have a display connected right now, but that means we are getting a boot, most likely. So, yeah, let's get soldering. So forgive me for the awful quality, but I'm using a very cheap microscope right now. This is the one that I got to begin with when I was just doing pin damage. But here you can see the resistor that's come off. And basically I'm just going to get my soldering iron out and try and get it back on so it actually stays there. So I'm just going to try and get a little bit of solder on here. Just enough. It's nice because half of this, well, the top joint, oh god, where's that? It's just left it all behind. Okay, let me get this back up. The top joint is already connected, so we don't need to worry about that. We just need to get this bottom one to stick. Wow, it looks okay. It is not as bad as it looks under this camera. I just want to make that clear. For some reason, everything always looks awful under here. But yeah, just collect this up, and yeah, it's still moving about. I'm gonna see now if I just leave this for a few seconds, let the solder cool down, if it's still moving. I think it still will be. Oh no, okay, nice. I'm just gonna get this excess solder off, maybe try and make this joint a bit better, trying to like push it downwards so it actually connects with the pad underneath. Just get these bits off if I can. And also while I'm here, I'm just gonna try and put a little bit more solder on the top one, because that was, well, you saw it was spinning, so don't really want that to be happening, I don't think. I am touching the top one, but that should be fine. And now I'm just going to use my tweezers to see if any of these move. No, that should be okay. Usually, I'm not going to do this on camera, but I'll also get the schematic out and just double check, like see what this is connected to. So I'll be like touching the top of this resistor, the top of this solder ball, and then like, for example, say it was connected to this pin here on this chip. I'll just touch the pin and then the top of the solder ball on the resistor, just to see whether that signal is actually going through, just to make sure that it is actually soldered to the pad and not just stuck there, so just like floating in the air, I mean. So I will do that as well, but I'll just do that off camera, make sure it's actually soldered to the pad and that we can get a signal through, and then I will attempt to boot the board again, so I'll see you then. Okay, so the board is built up again, just the most basic thing you can have, so just DRAM, CPU, cooler, and then power connectors. I'm just going to connect this. Oh, never mind, this is HDMI and I have display port, so I'm gonna just quickly get a graphics card. Okay, there we go. I just had this 2070 Super lying around. This is actually something that I bought recently, and it was allegedly faulty. The guy said that his PC didn't boot when this card was in his system, just one day wouldn't boot up. So he tried a different card and it worked with that one, so he concluded that the card was faulty, but it just works. So I've not had any issues with it. I've used it for, well, I've done like benchmarks with it to make sure. Stress tests, done some gaming. It was fine, so I'm just using it for diagnosing boards now. Power, oh, power's already on, okay. Well, should have had it off when I was putting the graphics card in, but I'm sure it's fine. And now I'm just going to short the power pins. There you go. Graphics card is lighting up here. Fans are spinning, and are we getting any lights? VGA, and I am actually getting a boot out of this thing, I think. My screen just turned on. Yeah, there we go, perfect. I'm just gonna show you here. There you go, posted. So I'm just gonna run some stress tests. Yeah, there you go, boot screen. Just gonna run some stress tests on this thing, make sure everything's working fine. And yeah, I'll let you know if everything's okay at the end. Okay, benchmarks, stress tests all done, so I'm happy that this board works, everything's fine. And yeah, so that was the solution. It was just that one resistor that wasn't quite all the way on. Half of it was off, not on the pads basically. Potentially also a BIOS issue, we'll never know now I guess. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. A lot of the time when I have like components missing, somehow I also need to reprogram the BIOS, so it might have been, but yeah, like I said, we'll never know now because we did that first, so we won't know whether that made a difference. But either way, there you go. I guess I hope you learned something, whether it was BIOS or soldering, finding, you know, fault, like a knocked off or partially knocked off component. And yeah, that's it, I guess, for this one. I'm definitely going to make more of these videos, at least, well, if people actually watch them and enjoy them, I'm definitely going to make more. With better boards as well. Like, this was just a A520M-A PRO, very cheap board. I just thought it would be a good one to start off with. But I've also got some better things ready. I mean, I've got a load of other boards that I've had a look at already, but not solved yet, just like a brief look, basically. But I've also got this that just came in along with the A520M-A and this, so two very nice boards that I'm gonna have a go at tomorrow, I think, after I have a look at this video, see if it's okay, edit it and maybe post it. And yeah, so stay tuned for that if that's something you're interested in. Leave a comment if there's something you want to say, I guess, whether it's to critique me or whatever. I mean, I'm not particularly proficient in, well, I mean, I'm okay at soldering and stuff like that, I guess, but I'm definitely not the best. There's definitely stuff I can still learn. And yeah, like I say, I hope this helped you if you're having issues as well with your motherboard or with your system. And I will hopefully see you next time.